Thank you, Adam Jenkins, for joining us today. Could you tell us a little bit about your role here at Peter and what you do?
So I'm a trainer here at Peter. I focused on the digital skills and improving how people use the tools that they have in everyday usage. And they might have been using it for years and years, but how to use it better, how to improve themselves, which is not about making them feel that they never knew it. It's about how they can use it better to do the jobs that they're doing it faster, more collaboratively, and all of these bits and pieces that mean that work happens at a much better pace than it might have done previously.
What have you delivered recently?
There's a long line of things I've delivered recently. One of my, I'll call it my baby, is the skills analysis that is starting to really pick up now with a lot of companies. And it's something I brought in a little while ago, where we send out a skills analysis to 200 people at a time. And they complete it and they ask questions based on what they know. So do you use Excel, for example? If they answer yes, they get on to the next set of questions. If they answer no, they just move on to the next question. But within that, there's a set range of questions starting from kind of what I would call intro and intermediate and then advanced. And depending on where they score themselves and how good they could do what the question's asking, we then kind of get a really good roadmap of where people are. We then go and sit down with the company themselves. We say, look, these were the results. These are the people that answered this. How well does this marry up to what your knowledge of those people are? And actually, people are really honest. People are really up for learning more. And they're quite confident saying, I don't know how to do that, but I want to know. It would help my job. And then with that, it's about going into these companies and sitting down with people of either groups of 5 to 10 to 20, depending on what they want, and running through all of this training with them, either full days or the last company I did it with, they wanted it in 2-hour blocks throughout the day for smaller groups, just to help them through. So a lot of my time is spent doing that.
It's really interesting. So you talk about digital skills. We've talked about Excel, PowerPoint. So talk to me a little bit about AI and Copilot. Is that developing?
So that is a big thing. So there's been a number of studies done on AI and Copilot and all the other AIs that are out there. And to be honest, there's always this fear that AI is going to take jobs and it's going to do all these things. AI at the end of the day is a tool, and I look at it in the point of view of years ago when you were a carpenter, you used to use a handsaw to saw your wood down, you used to do all those things. Then tools came along that would do it faster, better, quicker, handsaws, jigsaws, circular saws, whatever. And people were like, oh, it's going to take people out of jobs. But it didn't. It just made their job more streamlined, more efficient. They could do more. And AI is the same thing. AI makes mistakes. AI is not 100% guaranteed. It needs to be sense checked. It needs the information given to it. What we're finding now is that people are starting to realize that more people are using it every day, whether the company is aware of it or not. And it's about then teaching the company and the people how to get the best out of AI, how best to use it to help improve what they've already got in, to improve workflows, improve how quickly can you get a pilot of a document out, just to get a first draft out and done. There's a lot of people concerned about AI with all of these things, that it's going to take jobs, but it's about then having that conversation. AI is about the people, not the technology. The technology doesn't work if it doesn't have the people there to support it.
And talk to me about quality assurance in AI. How do you make sure, you've said it's not always right, so how do you make sure that it is accurate?
So a lot of the time, the reason AI isn't right is you've given it a very broad kind of go and do this, and it will go across the entire internet and look for everything. What can I do? Where is it all? And the problem with that is, as we know, people will put up anything and say anything online, on chat forums, on websites, on feedback forms, whatever. So we can't always trust what people have done. Again, it comes back to people. If you can really drill down into what you are looking for, you ask it a question, you provide it with the information that it needs, you tell it what it needs to look for and how you want the results to come back, you'll find that all of a sudden what you're getting back is a lot sharper, a lot clearer, a lot better, a lot more focused on what you're calling for. You haven't told it just to go and do whatever it wants. You're pulling it in and keeping it in line. And that's what it's about, teaching people how to do those bits to get the most out of AI.
And why do you think developing these digital skills is so important for the businesses we work with?
So business is changing every day. It's so fast paced. It's so quick. Everything needs to be done faster and quicker and more efficiently. By developing your digital skills, by developing your use of AI and everything in between, it will only help improve you as a person and help improve the company. So rather than, I'll give an example of myself is the easiest way for me to explain this. I'm dyslexic. If you ask me to write something, I can do it. It's just going to take me a little bit longer. But if I can give it to AI and just ask it, I am going to be doing this. I need a proofread of this. I need to get this, and this, point it out in this way. It can do a first draft for me. What would have taken me maybe an hour has taken me 5 minutes because I can just give it the ideas that I want. I don't need to think about anything else. I can say to it English spelling, English punctuation, written in this semi way, which makes my life easier, which means I can do what I do best, which is the training, the putting my ideas, my information into it. I don't have to think about the harder bits, I find. And I think it's the same way with digital skills. If we can help people in the business improve what they do best and take some of the stuff that they might struggle with a little bit more away from them and make it easier for them to achieve that, then it's always a good thing.
So if somebody didn't know where to start, so if you were giving me advice as the CEO of Peter about what I need to do, so a business needs to do, it's such a vast world of digital skills. Where do you start?
So the best implementations are always human and technology focused. And you look at the business problem. What is the problem that you're trying to fix? Once you've got that set in stone, you know what you're trying to fix, it's a lot easier then to kind of break that down and work backwards from there to see how you can start. So whatever the issue would be, if we were talking to you of what we need to improve, we'd look at what the business issue was. What was the solution that we're trying to come to at the end? And from there, you look at what's the purpose of what we're trying to achieve? Who are the people that are involved? What is the technology that's needed? And what's the training that's needed to reach that as well? Because it's always down to the people at the root of it. It's the people that will drive that forward. So if we were to look at you and say, this is the problem that you're facing as a CEO of Peter, we'd look for what is the business issue and how can we then use the people, the technology to move that forward and overcome those obstacles that we've got.
It's a really interesting point of view, isn't it, actually, that when we talk about AI, automation, robotics, and we work with lots of engineering companies, I have talked about it in a very broad sense. But if we take it by an individual specific problem, which might be the finance function needs to be more productive or needs to be slicker, or we can really put it down into bite-sized chunks and do it as specific issues in specific areas rather than the big green broad brush approach.
Exactly that. So if a company's suffering with lots of different problems or issues and they're finding lots of choke points of stuff not getting done in a certain way or in a timely manner, what would normally happen is you try and train everybody to do everything. Well, actually, no, you look at each individual problem on its own and you organise your training based on what is that issue. Because if I taught everybody pivot tables, is that going to be useful for everybody? Probably not. It's only going to be useful for the people that actually need pivot tables. And I found that in the recent digital skills training that I did for a company, some people were really focused. They needed to understand pivot tables and XLOOKUP because that's all they did. Whereas others needed to understand why, when they move something from one cell to another, is it doing this and why is it copying in that way, which is a completely different function, but them using pivot tables, they never used it. So really drill down into what is the problem? How can we fix that problem for that particular person or that group? And the training then becomes focused on that for them, but we can ad hoc it and we can move the training to focus on what is the need of the particular users.
And listening to that, the way to identify the problem probably starts with data.
Yeah.
And so talk to me a little bit about data and where you support data.
So data is literally everywhere. Whatever we do, we are creating some form of data from it. And it's interesting, an easy way to kind of get people to see how much data they are accumulating every day. So if you use AI, is simply ask it, with all the data you have collected about me, break down who I am as a person, do not hold any punches. And it will give you everything that it knows about you, everything you've ever put in. And a lot of times people read it and go, oh my, that's scary. It knows this. And you might not even realise that you've done it. Now, if you think about that's just what you're doing on a day-by-day basis in your own personal time with AI, think about what the data you're collecting every single day, everything you're doing in work, every interaction you have, every time you need to go and say, I need this data, or I need that data, where will I go and get that? Data is literally everywhere. Now it's about thinking the streamlining ways of which we can get data from person to person. How can we be more collaborative to get data from one person to another? Sometimes people seem to think, oh, if we use this technology, it will get there instantly, we can do that. it's not just about the technology. It's a balance. You need the people and the technology to make it work. If the people don't know how to use it, you can give them all the technology in the world, it's still not going to work effectively. If we can train the people on how to use it effectively, the technology will then balance and support that training to help them get that data to where it needs to go in a very timely manner.
So data for you is about everybody, not just the leadership of the business.
Exactly that. Because the leadership in the business get their data from the people below them. Without them doing and being able to pass that data up effectively and efficiently, then the leaders can't make effective, informed decisions.
So in my shoes then, what would be the first thing you would do to resolve some of these issues?
That is a very good question. I suppose the one thing I would suggest is we need to have a group of people that would be in charge of certain things. So forms, feedback forms, initial forms that are going out. So we know who it is that we can go and contact. So if somebody isn't in, who can we go and speak to about this? How can we do that? So we know where all data is being collected for all of these forms, so that we know where to go get email addresses if I need to send the forms out to people and things like that. Just something very quick and very simple, but I think will have a big impact on us being able to do things a lot faster.
Great. And so if you're going to leave us all with a nugget of information today, Adam, what would that be?
Digital skills, data, and AI isn't a scary thing. It's not the be-all and end-all of everything. People are what makes it work. Without people, all three of those will fall down. If you can get people to be upskilled, to understand how to use it effectively, you will find a massive turnaround for how people do it. It's that light bulb moment when someone clicks and they can see how this is going to benefit their work, and then they leave. And I see it all the time when I've done training, where they leave the room and they go, that won't work because I can go and do this, and that will speed it up. That's all you need to think about, is how can the people be trained or shown how to do something that's going to benefit them, that's going to improve their work process, which will inevitably improve how the business moves forward.
So how do you keep yourself up to date?
I spend a lot of time learning and watching and just experimenting myself. So I'm a very busy person that I follow people on YouTube. I follow a lot of social media accounts where I see quick wins, quick things that have happened, new updates that are coming, so that I'm always seeing what it is, and then I'll go and practice it and use it and see how it works and what it does. I'll look at the updates when we get an update on Teams, for instance. I'll go and read all the update SKUs that come with it to see what is it doing, how is it going to work, is there a way that we can use that within the business to improve how we do things.
Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome.